Today, I thought I would just do a single review of one of the big books due out from a big author. And when I say it's a big book, it's a big book. Hi. Look at that. Feast your eyes, though, I might say. Now, this is American-Canadian writer John Irving's, I think it's his 16th novel, called The Last Chairlift. Comes to us from Simon and Schuster. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You get that, meaning that there is a lot to say, and that's why I'm just doing this one on its own. When my mum used to tell us a story, a story, she'd be recounting something that had happened to her in the day or at the weekend or that she'd read about. It inevitably became a sort of hairy, looping around the world, sort of, hairy kind of story that we had to learn to sit through and see where she was going, because she spent most of the time kind of filling in backstories of the people and who they were connected to and why that was relevant. And then she'd get on with the story, and then she'd loop back to another part that was relevant, sort of explain a bit of a character or a bit of why someone would have made a certain decision. And inevitably, the whole thing was this size. And, I remember some of my brothers and sisters saying, "Mum, just get to the point." And the whole point was the story. Irving does this. And every single page of it's coming in at about 900 pages. Every single page of this is worth the read. Now, I know people go, "Oh my God, 900 pages. I can never manage that." And to be upfront about your reading experience with this one, it's a little bit like the title sort of indicates to you, in that it's about skiing. And as we all know, if you want to, get your downhill rush, you have to get up the hill first. And I think to a little, not a large extent, but, I'm just being frightfully clever about this, you are being asked to sort of sidestep your way, or herringbone, I am not a skier, up that hill so that you get the rush of Irving's narrative and his story. It's an absolute humdinger. It's a monstrously big book. It's an absolute giant of a thing. And it's a giant of a narrative. He's covering, as he always does, we'll know from A Prayer for Owen Meany and The World According to God, that he has these large narratives, many-stranded, and has his favourite themes. And we have some of those themes in here. We have small people. We have a little bit of wrestling. And we have his socio-political commentaries. This one has, for me, layers and layers and layers of things that are going on at the same time. So I'm going to give you a bit of the story, but I can't really give you much of it. But we were starting, the person, our narrator, is Adam. And Adam is the only child of little Ray, who had been a slalom skier, is now a ski instructress. And he is her pride and joy. And this is a very strong theme all the way through this book. It's about how we love and who we love and the ways in which we love them. And I suppose the sort of the family cell in which Adam grows up is peopled by the loves and the sort of close family ties, relationships that he finds himself surrounded with. So his mother, because he is an only, obviously there is no father in this story for Adam at the very beginning. His mother's not interested, doesn't really remember. It was all very long ago, and she was very young. And so as it turns out, had the father been. So we're looking at a kind of a quest, which is going to get us from beginning to end. Is Adam he's on a quest to find his voice as a writer, and he's on a quest to find out more about who his father may or may not have been, and he may or may not find that out from the entourage, if you like, of people with whom he lives. So he lives with his mother and his mother's lover, Molly, who's there some of the time and isn't. She's a, what do they call them, a groomer on the, getting the ski slopes ready for the next day. And he has a beloved cousin, Nora, who lives with her girlfriend, Em. And then at some point he comes across an English teacher, Elliot Barlow, who is probably the most fascinating character. I mean, I love them all. This is what happens to you as you fall in love with everybody in this book. And it's about this, and this Elliot becomes very, very attached to his mother. So they're kind of our people. All of these people are fighting very strongly for and bring us into this world of LGBTQI relationships, of transitioning, of what it means to be he and be she, and what it means to love somebody. It's also, I think, a very interesting look at the way in which, I mean, I've told you about how my mother told stories. I'm a little bit like my mother. I waffle, and some people can be exceptionally succinct, get to the point, you know, brilliantly. But also it's the style, or it's the genre in which we like to tell our stories. And I think this is something that I took from this, is that Irving is looking a little bit at what is our way, our preferred way of communicating or of telling our stories to people. And even telling somebody what we did in the day is our story. Sorry, that sounds a bit preachy, but you know what I mean? So he's interested in, is it through acting? Is it through, like M, who's Adam's cousin's girlfriend? She does everything through mime and pantomime and is a performer of such, and later turns out to be a writer. And Nora is the voice for her actually on stage. Are we going to do it through song? Are we going to do it through screenplay? Are we going to publish it or not? Is that our objective? And I think there's a little fondness in this for, let's say, the oral tradition, because I find that some of the commentaries on Irving writing is that there's a lot of repetition, which is very like the old storytelling that it helps us get back into when it's long. Look, think Virgil's Aeneid or Homer. We get little sort of repetitive sentences that let us sort of find our mark again, and then remind us of where we are in the narrative, take a breath and then go on with the next bit. And a little bit like storytelling, you know, the way you read a chapter to a child and then you stop and then you're going to pick up where you left off the next night, but you're going to sort of give a little recap on where we got to. And all of this kind of storytelling is how he's built this book. He's built it the way we might tell stories to each other, or we might tell stories to children, though content is not all necessarily for children. I was blown away by this. I mean, I went in, and in the first sort of 100 pages, I was saying, ooh, you know, I'm getting the story and I'm getting this feel for enormity, for big things happening. And I think Irving's asking me to do a little bit of work here so that I can get this huge, big rush at the end. And boy, oh boy, what a rush it is. I fell in love with all of these characters, and the unusualness of even the text, because we have got screenplay in here, all of them 100 pages, and about 3 of those. There are there are some terribly funny, we were looking at Adam's different girlfriends, and some of these are sort of, we're laughing, but at the same time we're following Adam through his sort of sexual awakening, or what to expect from women, and he's surrounded by women, or transitioning women. It's an astonishing sort of mix of characters. And he also has this wonderful Hotel Jerome, where Irving has made this kind of central to the story that Adam will go back to this hotel where his mother had originally met his father. And he finds out, you know, a lot of things about his past, and I'll let you read it. I promise I'll let you read it. Which is people by ghosts. And what's the point of the ghosts in the narrative? And they're not frightening, you know, they're as real in terms of the narrative as the flesh and blood people, and they are maybe stuck in their own narratives, or they need an exit, and some of them find it. There's everything in this. There's love, there's sorrow, there's murder, there's death, there's everything you can think of. There is also this backdrop that we know Irving, you know, he's famous for, which is an excoriating and scathing critique of the political stance taken, particularly during the Reagan era, on marginalising and abusing anybody who didn't stick to the sort of conventional ways of living or conventional relationships. It goes into, partly, without being, he's not ramming it down our throats, but and his characters comment and get frustrated and protest against the church, against the treatment of victims of AIDS. And it's very delicate, it's deft, it's poignant. And the whole thing is like he's weaving every single page like a tapestry, or like, I don't know. And at the end, you've got this panorama of life. It's an astonishing read. I'd say, buckle up, guys. Strap yourselves in for this last chairlift ride. Get to the top of that slope and enjoy the ride. It's bloody fabulous.